Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very pleased to welcome to HFM today Mr. Andy Powell from Wishbone Ash. Andy, how are you, sir?
I'm very well, thanks, Stu. It's good to be with you.
Good. I'd like to take you, if you don't mind, right back to your very, very first guitar, Andy.
Okay. My very first guitar was one that I actually, the very first guitar I played in Wishbone Ash was a homemade guitar.
This is the one I want to know about.
And, back in those days, of course, if you were a child of the 50s, which I was, and my friends, we couldn't afford guitars. In fact, I remember when the first Fender Stratocaster, a pink one, appeared in our town in a local music store, and we would make pilgrimages down just to look at it, drool over it in the window. But so the closest we could come was going back home, and on the dining room table, we'd build our own guitars. And for the first year in the band, that's what I played, yeah.
Brilliant. Now, Andy, I'd like to take you back to a Melody Maker classified advertisement.
Yeah.
That you answered.
Yes, indeed. That will be the famous one where a couple of guys from the West Country were advertising for a guitar player for a band. At the time, it was a band called Tanglewood. And a lot of people have answered that ad. There was going to be originally with this band, this new yet-to-be-formed band, was going to have a keyboard player and a guitar player. And we ended up with two guitar players, myself and Ted Turner, because no one could decide which of us was the better suited to the band or the right player. And after a couple of meetings and talking with each other and getting to know guys, each other, because it was a newly formed band in a way, we decided that it might be a really good opportunity to try and go for a new sound. And the new sound that we hit on was really this twin lead guitar concept. I'd already played in a band with a fledgling twin lead guitar band. We were exploring the idea. And I'd also played in a lot of soul bands in the 60s and had a lot of experience working out horn lines, brass lines for brass sections in groups. And so it was not a big leap to sort of try and get something going with the guitars, something a little different, from what had been the norm up to that point, which was, a lead guitar, rhythm guitar, or lead guitar, organ, and rhythm section. And so, the idea really was to try and create our own sound, which I think we really did. One of the early songs that we wrote that showcases that sound, really, the Wishbone Ash sound, because that's what the band became. That was later the name that we gave the band, was the song Blind Eye. And you can hear that the guitars on that particular song, it does sound a little bit like a horn section. And, when people would hear that song in concert or in a club or whatever, it would be quite arresting, It was quite a new sound at the time.
Right, I'm going to give you a couple of quotes here from magazines at the time.
Okay.
Yeah? Rolling Stone said of you and Ted Turner, 2 of the 10 most important guitarists in rock history. Now, that can't be bad, Andy, can it?
Well, it's not bad because I think there have been lots of great guitar players through the years. There's the Jeff Beck, Eric Clapton. These are single guitar players. I think what Rolling Stone's noting there really is that as far as this was two guitar players almost acting as one, really. And I think that's the opposite of the way you usually think of guitar players, because guitar players are usually the most egotistical guy in the band, maybe other than the lead singer. And they always want to grab the spotlight. But I think what was really neat about our band was that you had two guys deferring to each other, individually, and backing each other up, which really was like a two-headed monster. And I think that was really I use that term, in a nice way. I mean, it was showing sort of team spirit and democracy, really. And that's what has been the philosophy of our band right from the beginning, really. So, we really wanted to sort of move away from that guitar god thing, which was in the late 60s. We'd had all that. We'd had Clapton is God, we'd had Jeff Beck, we'd had Jimmy Page, we'd had Jimi Hendrix. You couldn't get any higher than that. You could not produce another guitar player.
Exactly.
There's very few. I mean, everybody keeps trying.
And also, Andy, Melody Maker, and I quote this, the most interesting 2-guitar team since the days when Beck and Page graced the Yardbirds.
Well, that's true. What they did for a very brief period. Those two guys were in that band, and I suppose in a way you could say they probably were dabbling a bit with the twin lead concept, as were actually Fleetwood Mac back in the early days, you know. But I think it was really our legacy. We were the ones that took it on to its logical conclusion, and then of course after us you had Thin Lizzy. Also took that route as well, you know.
Well, I think if it wasn't for Wishbone Ash, we wouldn't have heard from Thin Lizzy, to be honest, because they did use the same twin thing very much like you guys did.
Well, Lizzy were great, you know. It's well documented that Phil Lynott, the first gig that they came to when he got off the boat from Ireland, he came down to London's Lyceum Ballroom where we were playing and saw us playing and commented to his buddy, I think it was Scott at the time, said, "Hey, that's the sound we want." He did use an expletive in there, but but that was I got that word directly from the Lizzy camp. But yeah, I think that I'm very proud that we've influenced a lot of bands. And of course, Lizzy went on to have a lot of hit singles, and we were always really a players band and an album band, really.
I've got Kendall here with me. Andy, she'd like to ask you a question.
Hello, Andy. Yeah, nice to meet you, mate.
Hello.
Are you looking forward to the gig at Wilbarston Village Hall, because it is quite a legendary place, you know?
Well, I am, because you know I used to back in the day live in the area, just down the road in Milton Keynes area, and I got to hear about this place, Wilbarston Hall. You know, I didn't actually even know that that there was a village called Wilbarston, to be honest. But about 14 years ago, we went there, and at that time it was run by Jim Allison, the current manager. It was her brother, and he was a music aficionado. And of course, subsequently, everybody's played there from. I think Robin Trower's coming soon, but the Walter Trower, a lot of blues rock acts, really. And we just kind of played it as a laugh, really. Initially, we were invited by Jim, who's actually, if people don't realize, he was a real aficionado, music freak, really. He wanted to bring national acts to his local village hall. Why should he have to go to a big city to see good music? And he's since passed away, but his legacy kind of lived on, and the spirit that he created in those shows and those events and that little village really was something special. And it really, when you go there, it's a fantastic atmosphere in that room. And so we just started to put it on our date sheet, just really for fun. And we like the atmosphere. We like going down to the pub and having a pint and a bite before we went on. And it was just a great local spirit, you know. And we'd stay down the road there in a little guest house, Dingley, and it just became a nice little event for us, really, on the calendar.
Now, Andy, apart from constantly touring with Wishbone Ash, what else are you up to at the moment?
Well, I'm sort of whenever time passes, when I had the time, I'm sort of thinking about writing. I've got a little book in the works. I'm always maintaining our website. I like to blog on a daily basis whenever I can. And, you know, we've just produced something very interesting. We decided instead of putting all of our energies into a new CD, which we're writing new songs all the time, but we decided we would make a documentary film. And we just completed that last year in France, actually, in Normandy, where we took some time out and we were working on our new songs and our new record. And we got a French film team in, and we decided to film like a fly-on-the-wall view, really, of what it's like when a band actually is in the creative process, you know. And I'm always getting emails and questions from fans. How do you write songs? What's the process? What goes on? And you can kind of see it develop, you know, in this movie. And it's about an hour long, and we're very, very close to completion on that now. So that's one of my pet projects at the moment.
I'm looking forward to seeing that. Now, Andy, my final question to you, sir, before we go. It's a bit of a weird one, but I ask every rock star the same question. What's your favourite fish?
My favourite fish? Oh, to eat or to look at?
Either or. Okay, I'll go with the eating.
My favourite fish? Oh, well, you know, I mean, I'm a Brit through and through, even though I live in the States right now, but, you know, I mean, the demise of the wonderful codfish. The cod's got to be the one, really, for me.
Okay, that's brilliant. Andy, thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Yes, thank you very much, Andy. And, good luck with the Will Barston thing.
Yeah, have a great gig on Saturday night, Andy.
Well, thanks so much. And I would just appeal to all the people that have supported the club and the venue in the past to get out there. Even though we're in a recession right now, I mean, music is always uplifting, and just get out there and support that venue because they do a wonderful job down there. And we look forward to seeing everyone down there on Saturday.
We'd be there, but we have a show Saturday.
Yeah, but we'll be pushing you all night tomorrow as well, and tonight, Andy. Thank you very much indeed.
Fabulous.
Thank you, mate.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Bye-bye.
Bye.